So I think we are live and we are good to go. Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the 51st episode of the IT India Digital Conversations. I hope all of you are keeping fine and doing well. And a few weeks back, we completed 50 episodes of the Digital Conversations, which we started a couple of years back. And it was a great discussion about using technology for peacekeeping and conflict management. And today's session is on the topic of distributed manufacturing and is part of the manufacturing series, which is curated and driven by the expert panel members of the manufacturing working group. Today, today's episode, we have an expert panel of speakers with us who will explore how we can promote distributed manufacturing practices in India and how Industry 4.0 technologies can help transform it to become mainstream. We are glad that you could join us as we explore the prospects of distributed manufacturing to support Indian MSMEs to become globally competitive. I'm Suman Bhaumik, the host for the series, and I lead the events development for the IIT in India. And before we begin our session, like every time, please allow me to take a couple of minutes to tell you a little bit about the IIT and our speakers and the session today. So, the Institution of Engineering and Technology, also known as the IIT, is a 150 years old global organization inspiring, informing, and influencing the global engineering community to engineer a better world. As a diverse home across engineering and technology, we share knowledge that helps make better sense of the world to solve the challenges that matter. At IIT India, we want to grow actionable knowledge, want to solve India centric engineering issues, and want to enhance people's lives using technology and thought leadership to drive innovation. I have a short video with me here, which talks a little bit about who we are and what it is it to be part of the IT family. Just give me a minute while I play it.
Our world is changing.
Engineering is changing.
Society is changing.
We are changing.
We're here to inspire,
Inform.
Influence.
And change perceptions.
Demonstrating how important engineers and technicians are in our lives.
Championing achievements.
Helping to create new technologies that enable us to thrive.
And inspiring future generations to make a difference.
Together, we discover new concepts by turning theory into practice.
Create solutions to society's biggest challenges.
Share knowledge and expertise through our networks.
Grow by developing new skills and capabilities.
Evolve and adapt for the future.
We are the IET.
Together, we are engineering a better world.
So that was us. Together, we are engineering a better world. If you want to get in touch with us, you could, explore more about what the IT does by going to our website, which is theit.org. And you could also watch all the glimpses of the past digital conversations, all the topics, and what the key takeaways on our YouTube channel. And you can see the all past ones there. So now coming quickly to our speakers, and let's not take more time and keep them waiting. So let's start the introductions. And introducing our first speaker, Mr. N. Chandramouli, who, with his 4 decades of industrial career, has held many leadership positions in diverse industries and global organizations. He was the past managing director of Starag India since 2017. He is a member of the board. And since then, he has established his own independent management consultancy and is currently the CEO of ANCM Management Consultants, where he's coaching, advising, and mentoring startups in industrial IoT, experiential tools and webinars in Industry 4.0, training on operational excellence, conducting awareness and training seminars, sales training for machine tool companies, and also contributing to skill ventures and industry academia interface. He has also been part of our digital conversations in last year in one of the manufacturing series, and it's great to have him again here. Our next speaker, thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Mr. Jagannath V, who is the business head and whole-time director of M2 Next Solutions. Jagannath is a senior management professional with over 31 years of experience in all types of machine tools, auto OEMs, and ancillaries, which is for two-wheelers, four-wheelers, and HCVs, robot integrators, industrial polymer manufacturers, including mobile phones, medical industry and tool rooms, Industry 4.0 integrations, over 4,000 CNC machines in the last 5 years. So he has had successful installations for all of these up to the enterprise level. He has been an application specialist at German Machine Tool MNC for 5 years. For 23 years, he was at Fanuc India and attained director and senior vice president status there. Since June 2019, he's serving as business head and whole-time director at M2Next Solutions, which is the BFW subsidiary. Coming to our next speaker, who is Rohit Gupta, who is currently heading the Technology Center at India for Data Analytics and Software Engineering at ThyssenKrupp. He has more than 2 decades of experience in product development, coupled with strong program management experience. In his career span of 22 plus years, Rohit has worked in various roles and capabilities with global multinational companies like Bosch, General Motors, Nordbremse, where he was actively engaged in establishing product COAs and scaling India's center to deliver innovative digital products and solutions. In his latest role at ThyssenKrupp, he has been instrumental in establishing the center that is driving innovation across multiple product lines in niche technology areas like AI, ML, IIoT, and cloud. Prior to this, he had served as managing director and member of the board for one of the subsidiaries of Nordbremse for the Indian subcontinent. Our next speaker is Velasini Prabhu, who is a business advisor and consultant specializing in automotive and electronics. Velasini is an executive engineering leader currently supporting global expert network as a business advisor. She has led global multinational organizations such as Nissan, Renault, General Motors, Tata Motors, and Bosch for the last 30 years. She has led establishment of offshore divisions in the domain of automotive, industrial automation, and building automation domains. She partnered with strategic suppliers, worked with JV partners for development of electrified, connected, and advanced engineering capabilities. She has executed strategic and technological roles in establishing engineering core competencies, infrastructure, processes, and products catering machine vision, building automation controls, electrical architecture, advanced driver assistance, connected cars, and cockpit electronics. She has led engineering development for vehicles for the Indian market. Few examples include GM Cruise, Beat, Tata Tiago, Tata Nexon, Renault Triber, and Nissan Kicks. And finally, coming to our moderator for the session, Dr. Punendu Sinha, who is the chair of the manufacturing working group of the IT's Future Tech panel and also technology leader for group innovation and Industry 4.0 at Tata Sons. Punendu, along with the other expert group members, have curated this session and lead the manufacturing working group to become the platform of choice for Indian manufacturing industry to leverage technology best practices, enabling them to become more globally competitive. Punendu is also a collaborative team player with expertise in Industry 4.0 technologies. With his extensive work experience across various industries, sectors, and academia, he has comprehensive understanding of digital transformation architecture and is passionate about idea generation, innovation management, and has great insights in managing the evolution of output from research and development activities. Now, you can all understand with such heavy lineup of experts and speakers, I could only do justice by introducing them like this. Otherwise, we would have to conduct multiple sessions introducing each of them and doing justice to their work that they have done over the years. With that, Punendu, I would request you to take charge and give us a clapper of a session as we always do, and keep it engaging and exciting for the audience here at large. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suman. Hope I am audible to all of you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for warm introduction. And as usual, you put a lot of pressure on me to make it a cracking session. So we'll try our best. And we have four experts with us, and we wish to tap onto their mind to find out what are the emerging trends in distributed manufacturing in India. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the digital conversation series of IIT India on the topic of distributed manufacturing. I'll set the context to begin with in the next 2-3 minutes. And the way we have structured this conversation is to invite the speakers one by one and ask them questions. And these questions, we sincerely hope that you would be also having in your mind, and the responses which we would get from speakers, you will be able to relate to them, and you will benefit from their examples, their thoughts which they would share with us. So do let us know if you have any questions. Keep typing them in the chat. We'll be periodically scanning those chat message box and see if there are some important question which requires immediate attention to be answered by one of the speakers, or we will wait for the Q&A session to take place. Right. So that's basically the process will follow. So let me begin. As you all know, that recognized as a global manufacturing hub by 2025, and this is possible, because there is a potential to reach about US $1 trillion by then. Running the business as usual and aspire to become the top 5 and achieve that sort of goal. And towards that, many programs, macro, small, and medium enterprises under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, and we are, very sure about the fact that Indian MSMEs will play a vital role and contribute majorly for making India self-reliant. Right? They need to compete globally and produce products which are of world-class quality. And in subsequent digital conversations, so stay tuned to those announcements as well. So just a page of understanding what digital manufacturing is, that we have been practicing this for many years. But what was happening was that large organizations would have these things and have their own setup geographically located, and it was working beautifully. But nowadays, what will happen that you will find components which are getting manufactured at different geographical facilities, with people or the entrepreneur or proprietor investing very less capital investment, and the supply chain is coordinated, leveraging the technologies which are there, like just to name, like Industry 4.0 kind of concepts. And it allows all these components to come together and produce a final assembly. So just to give you an example, if you look at Amazon, if you wish to order something, many times you will find that the component got, or your product got shipped locally from the Bangalore location, right? So similarly, in future, if you are based in a particular region, very likely that a product will be manufactured locally and shipped to you, so that you get your product in time without spending too much time waiting and having long downtime and things of that nature. So what this means is that we need to create or build this local economy, provides connected value chain which will link all these suppliers, technology service providers, local skilled talents. A lot of engineering graduates are there who wish to be freelancer and contribute to these things. And the R&D labs, right? There are many R&D labs which have been set up by different companies with the governments and so forth. So we need to somehow bridge these things together. And so what we are looking at is that we will ask certain questions to our experts, and we look forward to learning more about the subject from these industry folks who have joined us today. And and as I said earlier, feel free to type in your questions. So we'll start our conversation with Mr. Chandramouli. Mr. Chandramouli, you have been very closely associated with industry bodies and have been also serving on many committees at the apex level. And we have been discussing about this topic. You have been quite passionate about promoting this hub and spoke model for developing an integrated manufacturing ecosystem in India. For the audience, it will be helpful if you could explain the overall concept of this hub and spoke model, and share your thoughts on some of the key success factor which is critical to realize this concept of distributed manufacturing in India. And just the last bit to add to that is that how do you see the concept of Industry 4.0 will be or can be leveraged by MSMEs to be part of this. So I'll pause here. Over to you, Mr. Chandramouli.
Thank you, Dr. Sinaji. Always the challenge to go first. Anyway, I think the animal spirits of Indian manufacturing is back again. Thanks to Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Digital India, Skill India. Initially, we thought these are all silos of initiatives taken by our Prime Minister. But in the last couple of years, I realized how beautifully they are all integrated. And when Suman has made this topic, I was telling him it's a beautifully curated topic. Old wine in new bottle. It's a question mark. It's an open-ended question. So I was just musing over it since yesterday. And I realized the old wine must be defined and the new bottle must be defined. And then I will touch upon your question on hub and spoke and things like that. Because for any topic, being the first speaker, I need to touch upon the purpose of doing anything, be it in manufacturing or service sector. So DM or distributed manufacturing as a concept, as a technology, as an application, or as a philosophy, one needs to understand the purpose or objectives that go behind it. Then everything will fall in place during today's conversation. Therefore, I come back to the old wine. The old wine is nothing but the customer satisfaction or the consumer satisfaction. The customer as in the B2B customer, as in the tier 1, tier 2 suppliers giving into Tata Motor or Toyota, or the consumer being the B2C consumer, that could be in pharmaceutical or FMCG or the big basket kind of a situation, or retail, or even for that matter, medical and hospital, healthcare and whatnot, which primarily belongs to the service sector. So in both categories, the old wine is a satisfaction of the customer. And that could happen only when the classic quality, delivery, cost are fulfilled. And then over 4 decades, we have been clichéing this point about quality, delivery and cost. So where do we now come for the new bottle? I think Suman is very clever. He challenges the new bottle. Then I realized the new bottle is not just a QDC, which we are all talking for the last 4 decades. But the most important thing which is emerging is the flexibility and the agility. The flexibility and the agility to respond to personalization or mass customization, which again are slowly becoming cliche. But in reality, I will illustrate with 2 examples. I went to a customer in Chennai who's making, I can't mention the name, who's making 200 types of clutches and brake systems. 200 types of clutches and brake system. Total volume per month runs into 10,000, 20,000 like that. In the per annum, it's more than 1 lakh. Is a joint venture between Indian and Korean company. Very successfully run company, but struggling on certain areas. I'll touch upon where they are struggling. then we understand the hub and spoke. Another example, there is a company which is just 20 crores 10 years back, and today they are 800 crores. Is automobile fabrication industry, headquartered in Bangalore. I had a short stint with them, and they said they are going to reach 1,000 crore in the 10 years time, and they definitely crossed 800 crores. It's just an owner-managed company, family-owned company till today. Recently, I think they tried to go for IPO. This company, what did they do? They did the B2B. What did they do? They did the DM, distributed manufacturing B2B. In the sense, they set up one factory every year or every 6 months, very close to the customer. There is another company in Coimbatore, which has crossed 2,000, 3,000 crore turnover now. Again, a owner-managed company, first-time entrepreneur, and who has got a huge amount of machine tool assets. One of my major customers was Makino. And again, he set up distributed manufacturing, B2B, one factory, around 20 locations across the country next to the biggest automobile majors. Now, in one sense, is distributed manufacturing already happening? In another sense, we need to make it better, faster and cheaper. Better, faster and cheaper alludes to the quality, delivery and cost, together with the variety and the type of products that they handle with small batch sizes, but a large volume, right? Which is not even automobile industry is no more exception to that rule. Coming back to the company in Chennai, 200 types of clutches and brakes, struggling with the mix. They said, my biggest challenge is mixing and mismatch. He said mixing and mismatch. That means the elements going to the bomb of each clutch and brake getting mixed up with the other clutches and brakes. I think after attending today's webinar and listening to all the experts, I'm going to recommend to the customer, please go for DM, decentralized manufacturing. Make one clutch and brake next to the respective tractor manufacturer across the country. Easier said than done. What is the challenge? The scale of manufacturing, which is enjoying today in that single factory in Chennai, he will not be able to manage in the decentralized setup. What is the advantage? Every customer will give him immediate feedback on quality, delivery, and mixing and mismatch, etc., etc. He can reach 0 ppm. He is already at 100 ppm. Very good company. Now, with all these examples of B2B industry, now let me come to the B2C industry at a later stage. Right now, hub and spoke model, I want to talk only B2B industry. Now, the hub and spoke model Purnindu mentioned, I want to quickly close this point because other speakers are coming, is not a linear supply chain, which we have been very, very familiar with in the just-in-time concept, linear supply chain. OEM will be there, Tata Motor, then tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, job shops, so on and so forth. We are very familiar with this. What is the biggest problem in this? The bullwhip effect. When the bullwhip effect happens, when the demand changes up or down, or when there is uncertainty due to Ukraine and other reasons, then the visibility of the problem is only to the primary demand company, namely the OEM. The other tier 1, tier 2, 3 are getting the information 6 months later, 9 months later, 12 months later, so on and so forth. Our today's MSMEs are struggling on working capital management and fluctuation of demand because of this bullwhip effect. Earlier, bullwhip effect was happening only due to economic cycles. But today it is happening when there is a war, when there is a petroleum problem, etc., etc. So we need to dynamically adjust to all these changes. And therefore, I want to create what is called the hub and spoke model, which is a network of supply chains and a decentralized approach where people can go closer to the customer. The closer the customer, he can get information on quality, delivery, and cost. Very quick feedback on Industry 4.0, because Purnindu thought, I thought he will come at a later stage on that question. He tried to, challenge me immediately. I think very, very simple answer to that. On-premise servers can no more do the job of managing with a famous SAP system. Like what happened to the IBM in the yester years will happen to SAP also one day. They may be listening to me, doesn't matter. There are other companies like Oracle are moving very fast. I'll touch upon it later on. But the point here is the Internet of Things, which is not only alluded to the Olas and the Ubers and the Zomatos, is today when it is applied to the DM, distributed manufacturing. Imagine the speed with which the quality information, the readiness, the capacity and the delivery information, when it reaches the OEM or the tier 1 or the tier 2 or across all the players, without any time lag on a real-time basis, the corrective and preventive action that all of them can take each other in the hub and spoke model. And remember, in this case, the spokes are going closer to the hub rather than the hub going closer to the spokes. So I think I'll put a comma here because Purandu is smiling. That means my time is out. So suffice to say, Purandu knows a way of time management. Just one smile is enough, right? So what I'm saying is there is so much to speak on this. And very honestly, I learned about distributed manufacturing only yesterday. But then when I start applying to my life of last 4 decades, I realize in the ancillary days when BHEL had all the companies around it, it is a distributed manufacturing. They are all around BHEL. But today, if all companies of BHEL are spread across the country or across the world, how do we do it? Industry 4.0 is a only way. The moment you distribute, you must connect them. The opposite of distribution is connecting. The moment you connect, you will get information flow both ways. I tell you what should be the quality specification, you tell me whether you achieved it. I tell you what should be the delivery requirement, you tell me whether you achieved it instantaneously without any time lag. Thank you very much, Dr. Purnendu.
Thank you, Mr. Chandramouli, and I think you have spread that passion to all other speakers, and I think audience would have also got energized to listen more from you. Fantastic points, and as usual, I think you gave a very pointed answer to some of the topics which I think audience would have liked them. Let's move on, and I would like to invite Jagannath ji now here. Jagannath ji, with your vast experience of working in machine tool industry, and Mr. Chandramouli also talked about that, and we know that many of these MSMEs use varieties of these machine tools in their factories to cater to large manufacturers. From your experience of having worked in this industry, which are the industries which you think which is amenable to the overall concept of distributed manufacturing? And once you highlight those industry, within those industry, what would be the role of these large enterprises they need to play to help MSMEs to develop the required business practices, capabilities, and if you could, support your answers with a few examples, that will be wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sinha, Dr. Sinha, for this opportunity and the question. So, coming to MSME, the challenge has always been, what is that first thing we have to do, whether it's the demand or the supply. So this has left them, for quite a long time, and there has always been a peak and valley. How distributed to see that manufacturing can become more effective, although it is happening in a very slow pace. We almost crossed 31 million vehicles in 2019. And if you see in the last 1 year, the kind of shift which happened in terms of demand and delivery, this has been amazing. Even the world #1 automotive company had to, shut some of the models which had started just a year ago or 2 years ago for want of market share. Now, some Korean companies came and took away and, did fantastic job in terms of deliverables. Now, meeting the demand of the market. So how exactly the distributed manufacturing helps here? Of course, Mr. Chandramouli has not given any opportunity for me to talk on Industry 4.0. He has covered everything. The first thing is connected factories, which would definitely enable the OEM to see what exactly is happening. But the larger perspective is the auto OEM needs to bring in a lot of awareness to the MSME level by working very proactively. This is happening, but it's happening at a very low pace. So what happens is the varieties are becoming a bigger demand these days. Some of the classical examples, what I can give is, today we have done digitalization or convergence with automation, where the variants are like 40, 50 kinds of variants, where you try to bring in a simple SMED concept to see how you can change over and produce the parts based on the OEM's demand. So the OEM also gives certain pattern based on how the market need keeps changing. So what happens is the MSME really requires a handholding from the OEM to say that what exactly based on the capability of this MSME he needs to do in terms of change in demand. Although the transparency part where the upstream and the downstream needs to be more and more clear about the demand and the delivery, that's not happening, which is also happening in terms of word by mouth. But industry 4.0, when you really connect across the board, starting from the OEM until the MSME, it can give you a lot of flexibility in terms of modulating your productivity while keeping the market changes what is happening. So in these scenarios, we have seen some of the implementations what we have done. Typically, the quality data, the customer, although the product is moving 8,000 miles away from the manufacturing tier 1, the customer gets to know the part what he is going to get is good to go or not with the quality data flying over the cloud. And also the subassembly testing data which comes in also gets to know to the OEM that a particular serial number of the subassembly, when it reaches him, what kind of performance parameters was already achieved. But nevertheless, looking at the Indian context and the demography and the kind of changing demands, a lot needs to be done because you can see that there are over 6.3 crores MSMEs already working in the country. 95% of them are deaf, dumb, and blind, means they don't get to know what exactly they need to do at the right time. So this requires a lot of handholding from the OEM side, a lot of work. And in this situation, if you bring in digitalization in true sense for the criticality in the supply chain, I think there is a good potential and there is a vast capability sitting there without knowing where to cater. So with this, I think I will stop my this thing and wait for the questions.
Sure. Thank you for the one key thing is to be able to bring MSMEs in confidence, let them also be aware of how it can be done, and that's the role I think large enterprises could play. So we'll come back to you, Mr. Janath. Let's move on, and Velasini, you will be next, and so you have worked in automotive sector in past, and that is one sector which is growing quite rapidly, and this particular industry depends on multiple players, and sometimes small enterprises offering different components. Like we discussed that a wiper motor could be also supplied to an OEM, and that is a very small component to rotate the wipers, right? And there are a lot of with connected car, there are a lot of software solutions are also coming in, a lot of sensors are coming in, a lot of user interfaces are coming in. So from your perspective, what are the typical change in the mindset which OEMs and tier ones need to bring to to allow this whole concept to flourish? And also, what are the shift in the mindset of these companies which you are witnessing that gives you the confidence that it will be successful and we are on the right path in India to talk about distributed manufacturing? Over to you, please.
Thank you, Pudando. Is my voice is audible?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to share some views on distributed manufacturing and Industry 4.0. And to start with my conversation, I would like to say thank you to Chandramouli. He has put a fire on stage, which ignited our thoughts. Basically, we all Indians like Jugaad, and you allow Jugaad to expand and meet the business needs. There is no end to it. Yes, we try to showcase this during our career throughout supporting global automotive counterparts and global product development. Yes, what comes is halt. Your experience in quality delivery is not enough. We admire your productivity, ideation, and everything. So now it is a time for us, after working so long, myself taking an example, last 3 decades I have worked automotive and electronics from Indian land and supporting globally, locally, and as Purnendra said, starting with Viper controls. Yes, I started my career was starting with small products like Viper controls, radiator fan controls from local Indian manufacturers, small MSME. That time it was not called MSME, but there were lots of MSMEs which were contributing. So I'm aware of how exactly the quality products are delivered by MSMEs and how exactly the global OEMs are delivering complex products for the same customers and same audiences. So in that, if you look at my thought process, yes, last 2 decades or 3 decades, automotive has been growing exponentially in terms of the complexity and features, in terms of technologies. Looking at the Indian perspective, Indian market perspective, yes, some of the requirements are induced by the government mandates. There has been localization of vehicle components. If you take typical BOM of automotive vehicle, maybe around which would run around maybe around 60,000 parts. In that, how many parts one could localize, how many parts could import. So these were the challenges and discussions when we started our career, maybe around when I started around 10 years back. We were discussing and we were evaluating which are components we can evaluate, what we can deliver locally, and what are the challenges are there in terms of technology adaptation, in terms of competences, and even infrastructure. So that is where all my engineer folks like me have invested our time, intelligence, and even development in the perspective of delivering value locally, impacting our customer base as well as regional as well as the global. Looking at the perspective of this larger framework of connected manufacturing and moving towards the future for delivering the complex chain of products, taking into account of how Industry 4.0 is penetrating all respects. How are you taking everybody into account? Part of the supply chain, part of the deliverables, connecting everybody to deliver regionally, locally, and even from remote locations, connect via maybe the currently penetrated internet framework, current availability of skill development programs, MSME framework. This is this all binding of all this into a standard framework or thinking is very important right now. Looking back, some of the actions or thought process are what exactly some of the points to in order to mention clearly. Initially, all these industries who are importing the components had given opportunities to really for bottom line manufacturers, small scale industries to go through the process of development and reliability and quality achievement for the few products. Now there are many products are getting developed regionally and which is meeting the global standards and traveling across the world, and which they have established their signature, Indian signature, across the world. So in that, the confidence has developed on our technology, competence, and even majorly the reliability of deliveries. So now we are good to go. The sample, or I can say proof of concept of capability, proof of concept of understanding complexity, and our eagerness to participate in the global scale is proven. Now, what is happening? All majority of OEMs who are based at India are collaborating together along with the other along with the MSMEs, redefining their BOMs in order to give opportunity, in order to develop their products together, or redefining supply chain and processes for the new vehicle developments or upcoming programs. Parallelly, there have been lots of, I can say, there are many global OEMs have set up technology centers in India, which has given opportunity for Indian engineers to work on various automotive subdomains and contribute across and develop the competence from baseline to the very high, to the considerable higher level. So what is happening is, in between we have faced the situation of COVID, which made us to work distributedly across India. Not only earlier we had a situation, all the engineers had to come to the cities or the main centers, sit here, maybe the so-called convenient locations in Bangalore, and work for all the products. But now people have experienced working distributedly remotely for the same products, and there have been new thinking and new process has initiated in terms of contributing for the same engineering work from maybe the remote places, collaboratively working with the MSMEs. So this particular situation is good for us, and maybe we can do a lot more about it. My message is utilizing this particular situation where we have got good number of engineers, we have got a problem in hand, and we have got government framework of MSMEs, the OEMs and large organizations utilize this and promote and work collaboratively to deliver what is required for automotive sector, which is complex and growing. Over to you.
Thank you, Velasini. Thank you for
let me know if there are any questions.
Yeah, we'll come back to you, and hopefully audience will also type in some questions, which I will read it out and direct to you. So let me move on with Rohit, so that I have one sequence of all the speakers come one by one. So Rohit, you have been working with multiple global companies and have been passionate about technology, have been following up the evolution of technologies and how they are maturing. And you have discussed some of the key technologies that should be leveraged to expedite the adoption of distributed manufacturing in India, and specifically how MSMEs can avoid this inhibition to say that why this technology I should use it, it's not for me. So how do you dispel this kind of some myths which a lot of these small players have, and then we'll come back to exploring how data and analytics could help. So over to you, Rohit, please.
Thanks, Fernando. So I think fair mix of question here, but I'll try to do justice and help the MSME participants get some answer from through some stories. But I would pick from your comment and build on what other speakers have said. You gave the example of uh, Amazon, right? So I think we have to look at the fundamental fact how the preferences are changing, right? Because when we are thinking about future, these preferences are shaped by our personal behaviors. So today, a person orders stuff, he's also tracking it, right? So he wants to know, or he or she or they want to know when they are going to get it. Um, Now, coming to manufacturing companies, I think manufacturing companies, we talk about industrial revolution, so we have been changing, and Mr. Molly put it really well when he explained. I really like the way he explained the old wine, new bottle thing. For me, they both go together. When you talk about old wine, see, manufacturing industry has been using practices like TQM, Lean, Six Sigma, right? And they've been using it for some time. Now the incremental benefits from these processes has it's become a process of diminishing returns, so to say that over time returns from these processes have diminished, and manufacturing companies have had already started. I will discount the factor of pandemic, of geopolitical shifts, of weather disaster and events. Even discounting that, I think in last 10 years leading manufacturers already started embracing technology. fundamental reason, they were already seeing digital disruptors coming into their business models. We all know Baidu came into manufacturing cars from being an internet service provider, becoming a car. So, but now coming to the topic, when we talk about technologies, I think technologies were well covered by previous speakers. So means I think today IoT, AI, machine learning, analytics, additive manufacturing are not new words, right? Uh, though I've seen in conferences it has become a little bit fashionable to say, oh, these are still far away. But I will put a different perspective to this. Yeah, so let me start talking about a project that we were doing, and hopefully this will also thread into what MSMEs can learn from how ThyssenKrupp is doing it, right? Because we are a big global industrial giant. So in 2020 we were making a AI system which will assure for one of our mining products that the operator will have greater OE. That was the target, right? So the overall time availability of the equipment will be increased from what it is today. And project was started, pandemic struck. Now, still there was a need to deliver this project in time mm, due to contractual obligations. Um, and now here the interesting bit starts. Yeah, so there is a team sitting in Germany working on mechanical design. There's a team sitting in India but distributed. So we are based out of Pune, but my engineers were sort of, they had all gone out to their homes. And and then there is the vendor network, right? So why the vendor network came into the picture? Because this was a data project, right? Today factories of today are already generating immense amount of data. Cost of sensors have gone down. So in this case we were dependent on machine vision to collect the data, and there was no possibility, there were travel restrictions. So we came up with the idea as a team in a real-time collaboration room when we were strategizing about the project, that let's get a 3D printed scaled model. Yeah, and that brings up the additive manufacturing aspect of the project. And we got a 3D printed scaled model delivered to our site in Pune, and connected it to a camera which was accessed by a team in Germany, team in India, using cloud to create a solution that is today delivering 3% OEE improvement. I'm trying to shorten the story here for the sake of time, but this is one example. A second good example I can share is we worked with a local sugar factory, and uh, we used data analytics. So we used their operational and process data to create a system using advanced machine learning algorithms, wherein they were able to know before the equipment. Sugar is a very seasonal industry. It's October to March, right? Sugar cane is produced and then it goes to the factories for producing sugar. So when I talk about these examples, what I mean for MSMEs, the opportunities are immense, right? Today, if I were to quote a number, in my opinion, the current level of sensorization in factories is about 20% only. Yeah. So, given the examples, think of the potential with data uh, that companies can get. And this is an opportunity because not all companies will deploy all phases of data acquisition, data collection. Cloud integration means, I think Purnendo, you and I come from General Motors. Velasini to design means we remember. So from a design aspect, there was no connectivity between tools, and there is a strong need. We are a big EPC company, so from a plumbing engineer to a electrical to a process engineer, if the data can be made available in real time, this will be a great opportunity to improve efficiency and processes. So these are some of the examples. Means you can circle back depending on time. I have many more.
Oh, wonderful, Rohit. Just to summarize, I think what you touched upon is the data is very critical, and for data sensorization is important of different stages of the processes so that there is a end-to-end visibility. And I think for MSMEs to be able to collaborate and work closely with OEMs, they need to ensure that they have all the things in place which provides OEMs real-time visibility into what they're doing and be able to track quality. So I think in nutshell, that's what you were highlighting to. I just wanted to
So
put that, and
three
we'll
areas.
come.
If I were to comment, connectivity. See, 4G is there, 5G is coming. So connectivity. Machines need to be connected to machines. Machines need to be connected to information systems. Informations need to be connected between vendors and customers. Very clear,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
connectivity. Second would be intelligence. So that is now the field of AI, ML, data science, analytics. So how to make use of this big data, the petabytes of data which is getting generated from these connected machines. Because for a human mind, this is possibly not comprehensible just by looking at this data. The amount is huge. And third is then using these insights driving automation and behaviors. That's
Sure,
how.
sure. Nicely summarized. Nicely summarized. Thank you very much. Jagannath ji, I think you are back here. There was some connection. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. So, building on what Rohit mentioned, and he touched upon intelligence.
Hello.
As is how to. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, there was a little disconnection, but okay, please continue. Yeah.
Mr. Chanmoli, are you able to hear me?
Hello.
Sir, it will be good to have your video muted because we are
Okay,
hearing your words in parts, not full
Yeah.
sentences. Thank you, sir.
Sure. So thank you for that. Is the voice clear now?
Perfect,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Okay, fantastic. So, Jagannath ji, I was just building upon what Rohit mentioned, and he touched upon intelligence to be one of the factor, and we have been talking about low-cost, intelligent automation, something which MSMEs can use and leverage. And he also talked about 3D printing and things like that. So wanted to hear from you that how these emerging technologies are being leveraged by MSMEs, and what are the things which MSMEs could leverage right away, without much there are something to see for them, like touch and feel. How can they gain confidence that yes, it is a good investment for me? And what are the benefits? One of the questions which I get asked, like, why should I invest, and what are the benefits which I would get by using such?
Yeah. Hello. So, can I start?
Yes, we can hear you.
Why should I invest?
Yeah. I think we lost Purnendu in between. So, the low-cost automation, I would just like to take some of the one of the classical examples which we just did recently, and we have started getting repeat orders, is the lowest activity in the manufacturing, which is die casting. There was a requirement for ladling automation, which the customer was very apprehensive. It's an MSME customer. And it was a very low level kind of a value addition in the chain. So the customer really said that the automation wouldn't work for me. So we did a small proposal and an analysis, and we said that if he hits something around 24% to 28%, his return on investment would be something like 18 months. This was the proposition what we gave, without even looking at the rejections, without even looking at improvement in productivity, without even looking at anything. Now, this was purely a brownfield project where it was GDC, gravity die casting machines with ladling automation. And we did a simple gantry where the real estate was a problem for him. He didn't want to make any changes. So the so-called low-cost automation, when we worked on the ROI, the investment looked to be little higher, something like 45 lakhs, 50 lakhs kind of an investment, which the MSME really didn't want to go and was really afraid of, having to shell that kind of money. We did this automation for 4 GDCs with a single. Hello, able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So single gantry with 4 GDCs and 2 holding furnaces. And in fact, we gave him the flexibility of running any variety of the die in the line by giving a variation of 100 millimeter, between center distance, flexibility. Now, this was a typical EV component where the demands were very high, and the customer really used this and ran it for 3 shifts. The beauty of this end result was, in fact, we gave the IoT ready on this and implemented the IoT also, including where the owner could see how many pourings did happen in the shift and how many components were produced. And because the process control was extremely well defined, he has been doing this in this domain for last 30 years. The rejections came down by 95% and the productivity went up by 34%. And to all our shock, the return on investment was 9 months. Okay. And the customer said, when the rejections comes down, the receiving tier 1 company, it's not even the OEM, the tier 1 company said that there was very little for him to check the component. And then after 1 or 2 months, he started simply assembling the component. I mean, taking it for post machining, started assembling the component because there was no destructive test required post this automation result. So in short, what I just want to say is the automation and the digitalization gave a clear picture of what was the increase in productivity. The rejections came down. The profitability went up because you could produce more. And there were no circulation of rejected castings, which had some issues in terms of skimming. And at the end of the day, customer comes back and tells, can you put another line? And I want to move away from the other vendor because I know now that you can commit the deliverable to me. Now this is what happens. And now if you look at every MSME, if there is little effort done in terms of return on investment, I think there is a big chance, and it will definitely happen because the demand is growing. And to answer your 3D printing, a lot of jigs and tools in terms of polymer has been now developed, and which can be built easily on an FDM polymer machines. And you can also we have done one small exercise on die care. Usually when the die fractures after a lot of HPDC activity, you see that reworking on the die would give you only 30% of its life. By using a 3D printing technique, an additive technique to use a composite material to bring in the originality of the material, we could go up to 60% of the life of the die, which is still midway. I think if we start really working on it, it could go to 80 to 90%, where you need not have to depend on a new die after several die care, which generally happens in the traditional way. So there are a lot of new techniques, but what happens is, as a supplier or as a OEM, there are a lot of hand-holding and awareness which we need to create and bring in and drive home, saying that definitely there is value here, and the customer, whoever is in the supply chain, gets thrilled and wants to come back to this MSME time and again and push him hard to really expand. So this customer not only did the automation for die casting, but also did automation for machining post. So pre-processing, post-processing, after looking at the benefit, is now really hijacking, like where all I can automate on my shop floor. So that's my take on this. Looking forward for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jagnaji. I think well articulated, and the example actually would help people to relate to it. So I see a question from our co-member, Mr. Sunil David. And Rohit, I think you could answer that question. The question is, in connected manufacturing, when OEMs connect to MSMEs, irrespective of location, the question is how cybersecurity will be addressed. And given the fact that MSMEs may not have the required appetite to invest in cyber product and services as compared to large OEMs, how do we take care of this security aspect of it, and specifically, when these hackers, take your, control of data and demand a lot of money. So over to you, Rohit.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Mr. David. And so it's a tough one, but what I would say is I'll try to break the answer in two parts. Firstly, we being a German headquartered, German European centric company, in Germany, MSMEs are the backbone, right? And they also serve the European ecosystem, right? They are also major exporters out of Germany. So coming to the question of cybersecurity, of course, as we integrate these newer technologies, it become important how to build a trust network. Means one of the technologies that hold potential, according to me, is blockchain, especially when we talk about additive manufacturing. We are still very far away from it. And as you have put it rightly, the challenge is okay, as an OEM, we, let's say, even create and provide the platform, how to onboard the supplier, because the supplier has to be ready to embrace those systems. Yeah, because the blockchain network works only when your vendors, your customers, everybody, then only it will give you meaningful tracking and bring data sovereignty or outcome sovereignty, so to say. So, from a cybersecurity standpoint, I think this is also an opportunity for MSMEs in looking at new business models. This is the second part of the answer, right? So there would be MSMEs who possibly can benefit from thinking of a platform strategy, right? So, the new models, if I were to summarize, so there is SaaS, which is very common. There's a platformization strategy where you can be the platform owner and provide data exchange services with the value for trust. So I think these are two ways that I can immediately think of MSME organizations can benefit, because I can say this with very strong confidence that the world will continue to shrink. So I think Mr. Chandramali said distributed means more connected, seamlessly connected. So I think that seamless connection to improve productivity is not going away. So whether it's blockchain, whether it's a platform-based service which is connecting the OEMs and mm, the vendors for a service fee, I think it's an open field out there.
Yeah, I think very nicely put, Rohit. Blockchain doesn't mean that you only talk about cryptocurrency and bitcoins. The concept of blockchain can be used by manufacturing sector in a big way, and protecting design, protecting manufacturing data, and platform fantastic, because you can leave that controlling the security aspect to somebody who has proven track record of securing somebody else, like the way we keep money in our bank, because banks have shown that they can protect. Similarly, I think we have to also change mindset in the way we think and conduct business. So with the question in mindset, let me bring in Vilasini over here now. Vilasini, one of the thing which we wanted to hear from you is that there's a lot of small regions, small towns in India where a lot of engineering graduates are there. And I've been part of these government of India level hackathons where I've seen fantastic ideas coming from regional colleges. No brand, no NIT, no IIT, but fantastic ideas from some colleges in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Odisha. And we have to leverage these kids and encourage them to become entrepreneur. From your perspective, how can we inculcate this mentality that they should take up entrepreneurship, become a proprietor, set up a factory? What sort of capability they need to develop, and how can ecosystem can help these guys to come on the foray? So leave you with that question.
Thank you, Purnendo. Before going to your request on the college grads bringing into the mainstream, bringing quick into MSME framework or quick into our participating in today's technology arena. I would like to take up the topic which we are discussing about how exactly we can make MSMEs deliverables safe. Just I want to talk talk about this, and then I'll continue the topic which you have discussed. So today,
Sure.
when we are talking about Industry 4.0 and connecting MSMEs and their deliverables or their technology into the mainframe, which could be usable by large enterprises or OEMs, there will be lots of effort uh, put in OEMs or large enterprises to bring MSME to in par with their secure network. And that is the effort generally OEM and large enterprises put uh, that development or making their IT framework or development framework in par with the OEM and large framework. Then once the secure network is established, they will, whatever their deliverables and whatever their data exchange or their tools or deliverables, this will be in par with the secure framework which goes into the product. Then this issue of cyber security and all, it will be the level of threat will be same as what prevention mechanism has been put by OEM or large enterprises. Just for just sharing my experience on this. Okay.
Sure. Yes,
Okay.
sure. Thank you for that.
Just I wanted to add for this. Yes, coming back to the point which you had said, bringing the remote India, or we can take India, or we can take example of Karnataka here where we are in. You see there are lots of colleges. I can say only when person joins, we know which college he has come from, and we know what kind of level of competence. So today, majority of the OEMs or large enterprises um, are in the process of developing, I can say, improving the bottom of pyramid. So the engineers, before taking on board, looking at their infrastructure and other things, how exactly we can influence the engineers start of the college. Maybe currently there are lots of brainstorming which has happened in terms of developing the people at their college level, and what kind of systematic influences we can have on students to choose career, choose their maybe the future effort on their career progression. All this aspect, there are lots of training plans have been planned at organization level, and the team of engineers take as additional CSR objective, and visiting all the colleges and participating in their hackathons, participating in their college projects, maybe appropriate reward mechanisms developing from at a very early stages are very common. Last 10 years, I have been, and my teams have been involved in this kind of activities. I have visited many colleges, given lectures. The recent, I can say recent means somewhere 3 years back, I had been to Nagapattinam to influence women engineers to take up mechanical engineering. So I have presented myself and my team from Renault Nissan presented a detailed framework of automotive engineering, and given lots of overview with respect to the capabilities and what kind of engineers from remote locations who are graduated are able to participate in our development programs, and how they have become capable of delivering world-class products in our organizations. So these are one of the examples of how organizations motivate people to develop and come to the mainstream of contribution from the start of the engineering or the technical education. This is
Great.
one. Any questions, sir?
No, that's good. Thanks. No, thanks. Thanks for sharing that. So I think we are at 3:15. Let me quickly come to Mr. Chandramouli so that we complete one round of question. And there is one important question I have for him, which I would like him to answer. and probably share again his vast experience of having worked for 4 decades. Mr. Chandramoli, you heard perspectives from Jagannathji, Rohit, and Velasini about technology ecosystem. We discussed about this multiple times, that the way the traditional product life cycle management, which were designed for or maybe used or leveraged by large manufacturing companies, which had a factory at core location and few of their subsidiaries or a sister organization at different locations. I think the whole distributed manufacturing will bring about different thinking in the fundamental way in the product life cycle will work, because of the fact that everything is getting distributed, where things will be produced, the processes which will be followed, the people who are going to be working on it, and the locations, right? Where you are doing the business, where you are supplying, to whom you are supplying. So what are the things which you would suggest that would bring about in that? And associated with that, what are the risks which you anticipate that one would face? And and since the risks are there, then some mitigation plans also could be thought out. So over to you, if you could address this, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha. This is not only a challenging problem, but also a challenging question. Thank you. So the way I understand PLM, while it is another jargon which got accentuated in the recent past, it always existed over the last 2 decades. Product life cycle management. Now what is added now is even the recycling of the products. Let it be as it is. What is happening to the distributed manufacturing? We have to come back to the theme of the day and then connect with the PLM concept. So the benefit to the audience, I want to touch upon the main purpose of the value chain. The value chain is a generic term from which I will allude to the PLM. From design to after sales service, whether it is a B2B product or a B2C product or a B2B2C product. When I say B2B2C product is an example of an automobile which goes to a consumer finally, but then we all supply it to Tata Motor as a tier 1, tier 2 company. A B2C, I said, I warned you, I'm going to come back to the B2C. When you get a chance, I have to grab it. The medical implant business is going to be the first target use case globally. No one person's teeth is same as another person's teeth. No one person's, even within his 32 teeth, are of totally different dimensions and shapes. The other parts of the body, the shoulder bones and the hip bones, etc. Here is an example. You go closer to the customer. Who is the customer here? The patient lying on the surgical ward. I visited this hospital in Pune, Sancheti Hospital. I went to the basement because I was looking to sell a machine 10 years back. Because we have to get orders from non-automobile industry in 2009, when automobile industry crashed to zero, thanks to the global recession. And then I visited Miyot Hospital and Husmat Hospital in Chennai and Bangalore. Again, I went to the basement. Why basement? All these imported bones and things like that made of phenomenal materials are kept there. Then they told me, sir, all people have to take the same bone or the same teeth, as the case may be. Who make them? There are only 3 people in all over the world who are approved by the American Society of Medical, etc., who makes it. Why am I bringing this B2C example? Just hold on. I'm going to talk about another B2B2C example. Then come back to the PLM, not forgotten your question. The power of the distributed manufacturing, sir, it is now coming very fast, and the MSMEs are going to make their profitability 40% EBITDA margin if they really tap this. My friends listening to me in the MSME, please move away from build to print to build to design. And then apply your PLM concept. Even cloud PLM on a subscription model is very low cost, available from Team Center, Siemens kind of people, or Dassault, for example. I know when I keep talking, they always worried about investment cost. Coming back, I supplied machines. I want to mention the brand of the machine, Makino, to a company in Chennai. That customer I will not mention, who make 144 types of slack adjusting mechanism. I asked them, why do you make 144 types? And he make 1 million slack adjusting mechanism for the truck industry for the whole world. And I asked him, sir, where are you supplying it? It says one warehouse in England is stocking all this through a catalog thing. They're supplying it to all over the world, to the various truck manufacturer, aftermarket, underlying aftermarket. Now comes the product life cycle. The cycle is very important. We are not going to throw away any truck. Mahatma Gandhi said, even the backside of the envelope I will use to write my next letter, which will go into another envelope, and the backside of that envelope I will write my next letter to the British. So that means you need only one paper to begin with. So this aftermarket example, why am I talking? The variety of slack adjusting mechanism going into the various trucks. If the wrong one goes to the wrong truck, the truck will not brake and it will fall over the cliff or the guard section, as the case may be. The medical implants and the aftermarket, Dr. Sinhaji, are the two first use cases of the PLM technology for distributed manufacturing. I know the McDonald's burger and the Pizza Hut and all these consumer product examples, how with the help of a single standard manual, how they spread across the world with millions of outlets by standardizing the product. But with mass customization, can they supply different types of burgers for the Indian market? Yes, they made a beginning in 1997. And I was party to that, so I know this fact. But in the engineering industry, can we grapple this point? Two examples I gave, healthcare. Let us come back to PLM. The challenge which you asked me. The standard PLM always existed. What is going to now change with the distributed manufacturing? First of all, why distributed manufacturing? We already touched. Because we have to go closer to the customer. The Coimbatore example, Chennai example, and the other one which go closer to the customer grew faster than all others in the same industry. So MSMEs, please watch this point. And the moment you distribute, you have to connect. As Rohit Gupta ji again reiterated the point. And so once you connect, you have to track and trace. Jagannath ji is doing so much work in this country for tracking and tracing. As Ms. Velasini mentioned, the tracking and tracing is not only for the product, it is for the component of the bill of material, the child parts, and they are constantly changing, mind you. The child part designs are constantly changing. The obsolescence is so fast, right? And thirdly, tracking and tracing the process. Is it a 4-axis machining center or a 5-axis machining center making the turbine blade for the aerospace or power generation industry? And fourthly, change of the manpower. She talked about the skilling. When the four things change in aerospace industry, Thyssen Group is very famous here, the aircraft will come to a grinding halt. For 10 years, nobody can change the material or the process or the machine or even the John or the Peter who's making the turbine blade. Imagine in distributed manufacturing, how are you going to control this? So the tracing and tracking, Dr. Sinhaji, becomes the most important point. Is the third question. Why am I doing this? So that I can diagnose if the problem occurs and I can take predictive action. I like the word proactive action through prediction. Maybe analytics and intelligence is going to help there. And finally, I must take an action even before the MSME asks me to take the action. That means it should be proactive. Come back to the PLM. With all these challenges, I superimpose one more challenge. What is that? The designs are constantly changing. It's a mass customization. Even in engineering products, I gave you two examples, right? I installed flexible manufacturing system, a humble concept of Industry 3.0 in 3 organizations. One is the machine tool industry in Bangalore. One is the oil and gas valve industry in Pune. Another is a defense industry in Chennai. None other than the government of India. What are these three examples? I realized they are all aftermarket manufacturing of a machine tool parts, aftermarket manufacturing of oil and gas valves, and aftermarket manufacturing of the engines going to our defense in the border. And now remember, the flexible manufacturing center is a centralized at one location with all the problems that it can have in terms of demand fluctuations up and down, not to speak of supply chain fluctuations. And in the moment some design change happens, the whole thing goes satyanas. The child part design have to change. And when in the decentralized manufacturing, we also allow the supplier to do his own design change. Very important point to be underlined by MSME. One question came from one of the people, can I do a brand recognition through this process? That means MSMEs are now authorized to make a new design which the OEM will approve. Earlier OEM was telling, no. Tata Motor designed the part, you have to exactly make the same as per my diagram. And I may even forget to change your latest notification of the revision change in my drawing 14.3.1.2, but you must give me the correct part, which will get rejected and GRN will not be made. And MSME bill will be rejected, payment will not happen. I made too many points in this, don't get confused. There are variables in terms of product modifications. There are variables in terms of child part modifications. There are variables in terms of innovation ability of the supplier, which will be accommodated by the new industries, especially in electrical mobility. Why there is a mushrooming of scooter manufacturers across the country? A friend of mine told me there are 100 scooter manufacturers in the country making electrical vehicles. Maybe they'll make only 100 per year or 100 per month, but they are there. That means distributed manufacturing is already started off. They could not do it when there is a diesel engine, which has got a huge investment in making a truck or a car. To cut the long story short, sir, I want to talk about the 5 things of the PLM. And I came to know, not long ago, only yesterday, there is something called Agile PLM. That answers your question, what is the modification we need to do in the future? Rohit Gupta ji will be an expert on that. Oracle has launched an Agile PLM. What does it do? It takes a site location, multi-site production, which means multi-locational production. So far, standard PLM only looked at parent part, small part. Truck, gearbox. Inside the gearbox, there is a gear and there is a bearing. This is how the explosion diagram happens. But now I add one more to that. Is it produced in Coimbatore, or is it in Nagpur, or Aurangabad, or Timbuktu, or whatever it is? And within Coimbatore, which factory, 1, 2, 3, which produced it? The blockchain is the only way. The blockchain is the only way because it will have the data of the man, machine, material, and methods used to produce that particular gear. And when there is a design change and revision change happens with the parent company or by the tier 1 or the tier 2, this Coimbatore Chota company will automatically get it through the cloud. Again, I come back to Industry 4.0. And because MSMEs are now afraid of implementing Industry 4.0 because we scared them out of their bone, saying that it is very mega, costly and all. Jagannath ji tells me it is only 2% of the turnover to be invested to make a 9% savings in their business. Jagannath will confirm that it is even better than that.
Sir, now it has become 1%.
He is very clever because he puts a denominator of a larger company. Then it becomes 1%. So, fair enough. Jokes apart, coming back to the point, the Agile PLM alludes to 3 parameters: the product configuration, product portfolios, the component portfolios, the site location portfolios in the decentralized manufacturing. Suman will be upset if you don't talk about DM. And then when all the 3 are combined together, the jugglery cannot be done by even the best manager under whom I worked in Tata Motor. No, not possible. Only the digital technology will be able to solve this problem through 5 things. Kindly make a note, all the MSMEs and other experts. 5 things. I know we are coming to the closure of this program. Number 1, Internet of Things. The Olas and Zomatos have done it. Big Baskets have done it. Please do it in the engineering and manufacturing industry. be it a medical implants or be it this one. The design of the teeth has to go quickly to that place, and he makes a 3D printing, and then ceramic 3D printing powders are available. You make the teeth instantaneously. The second, so that means data is moving, materials are not moving. Data is moving, materials are not moving. It's a beautiful axiom which I can own up. The second point is the cloud computing. If without the cloud computing, you cannot decentralize the DM manufacturing. Sorry. That's why it's a new bottle. It is not an old one. Not an old bottle. The third is augmented reality. Baba, please understand, you have to develop remote diagnostic, remote manufacturing, remote assembly, remote after-sales service, and remote maintenance skills. Very fast we have to do that. And then the PLM technology, that means PLM is connecting IoT on the one hand and augmented reality on the other hand, and together they are talking through the Team Center or the Oracle Agile platform. And I coined one more word today. Thanks to Dr. Sinaji, I keep coining new word, which is Agile Kanban. Agile Kanban. I want to leave this very, very important thing to the automobile industry, which is a leading industry, which drives all other industries in this world for manufacturing excellence. And what is Agile Kanban? If all the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers are talking continuously to each other on a dynamic platform through Agile Kanbans, e-Kanbans, digital Kanbans, Rohit Gupta ji should implement it through his German partnership. And then the Agile Kanban has got two dimensions. There can be one customer buying parts from several suppliers located across the world, or one supplier may be supplying several parts of the slack adjusting mechanism to the entire world for after sale market or to the medical implants. I gave you two diametrically opposite examples. It's not in any research paper. I just realized this morning. In both cases, you need a pull system. Pull system. My good friends from lean manufacturing appreciate what is pull system. The just-in-time manufacturing, a pull system, is a old wine. And the new bottle is Industry 4.0 technology. Additive manufacturing, I forgot to mention, will help you to decentralized printing of those parts. And then design to and build to design becomes easier than build to print. Now I would say a new terminology, print to print is not acceptable. Print to design with additive manufacturing is acceptable. So to close this subject, Agile PLM is the answer. Lot of literature available. Oracle. There is a 120-page booklet. I can send it across to the team, which someone can forward it. And there are 20 authors, including Indian Social Science authors, have made a beautiful paper on distributed manufacturing and its challenges, which also I'll send it. Thank you very much, Dr. Sinha. I hope I touched upon the question that you asked.
No, wonderful, Mr. Chinamoli, and really appreciate you giving such a detailed answer. I think it
the risk part I already covered. The risk is nothing but the constant change of diagrams, and then you know what happens to the quality. The quality is the biggest victim of distributed manufacturing. Please carefully address the quality risk of distributed manufacturing. Cyber security is a minimum risk, not a problem at all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think we have passed the time, and I don't see lot many questions falling in, but there were few which we have already answered. So my suggestion would be that we go back to Suman. Suman, over to you. And for your concluding comments, I don't see much of a questions here. I think we have provided so much information that people have gotten more than what they would have expected here. So over to you, please.
No, I was going to say the same thing. It's one of those sessions where it is so comprehensive, and that people don't have any questions that they're left to ask. I think some of them are already saying that it was a very good session. I would like to thank each and every one of you, because it's though it's an old topic, and like we say, old wine in new bottle, but it is very complex, and it is something that needed these kind of expert suggestions and insights to give that clarity. And I think the way Mr. Chandramouli, Rohit, Velasini, and Mr. Jagannath has said this, and the way you have moderated this, the kind of questions that you have put forward for all of them, has helped us, cover the entire subject so nicely. I'm sure Mr. Chandramouli's full name has Agni in it. I don't know what the A stands for though, but it's surely Agni because 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 whenever he spoke, it was like fire on the stage, and that's what we like from him, and that's why we love him so much, and we look forward to having him more and more in
It's
these platforms.
accelerated networking for coaching and mentoring. Also known as AM Chandramouli, AMCM, accelerated networking for coaching and mentoring.
Amazing. So I couldn't have said it better. But I think with that we have summed it up. If the audience, you have any questions for all the speakers, do write to us. I have my email ID here. You could write to me, and I could forward them to the speakers, and then whatever responses we get, we're happy to share that with you. We have this session has gone live across Facebook and YouTube. It's been recorded, so you could always go back to our channels and watch the recording. You can always stay back on Airmeet and replay the session again if you want to catch up on some of these points, and share the link with your friends and people in your network for them to see that as well. Apart from that, we would love to have your feedback on the sessions, and for the upcoming sessions, what you would want us to cover on, what kind of topics you would like us to produce. We'll be more than happy to do so. And thank you once again for joining us on a Friday, and making this a successful session. And wish you all a very good weekend. And we'll again see you after a couple of weeks with a new topic, which is also very interesting, which is on lean digital thinking for MSME businesses in India. It's a book which has been authored by one of our members, VSR, and he, along with our skills working group, are creating this topic, which is about lean digital thinking, which should be practiced now. And what it is all about, find out more as we go live on the 24th of June, again on Airmeet. With that, thank you so much, Pundendu. Thank you, everyone, all the speakers. We'll continue to keep in touch.
So thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chandramoli,
Dr. Sinha.
Rohit, Vilasini,
Thank you, all
and
my colleagues. Thank
Jagannath.
you.
Thank you.
Wonderful interaction, and thank you for all the comments and sharing your thoughts. So, Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Thank you.